Behind closed doors in Washington, a dangerous idea is taking shape. Let Israel strike Iran first. Trigger retaliation. Create the reason for war. As nuclear talks begin in Geneva, diplomacy and bombing plans are moving side by side. The real question now, is this negotiation or countdown? Some in the White House don't just want to hit Iran, they want Israel to do it first. Senior advisors to US President Trump have been pushing for Israel to strike Iran before the US launches its own offensive. According to a Politico report, the logic, as described by two people familiar with the discussions, is nakedly political. An Israeli first strike would provoke Iranian retaliation against American assets, handing Washington the public justification it needs to go to war.
There's thinking in and around the administration that the politics are a lot better if the Israelis go first and alone, and the Iranians retaliate against us and give us more reason to take action.
Both sources told Politico that a joint US-Israeli operation remains on the table regardless of who moves first. And despite the diplomatic talks underway in Geneva, one source was unambiguous about where those closest to Trump think this is heading.
We're going to bomb them.
The report says the extent of a potential American military campaign remains unclear, citing concerns that the depletion of US munitions could encourage China to attempt an invasion of Taiwan, and that a more expansive offensive raises the prospect of casualties.
If we're talking about a regime change scale attack, Iran is very likely to retaliate with everything they've got. We have a lot of assets in the region, and every one of those is a potential target. And they're not under the Iron Dome. So there's a high likelihood of American casualties, and that comes with lots of political risk.
It was into that charged atmosphere that Secretary of State Marco Rubio stepped on February 25th, speaking to reporters in St. Kitts and Nevis after a Caribbean leaders summit. He made clear that Washington's patience had a ceiling and that Iran's missiles were very much part of the calculation.
Talks tomorrow will be largely focused on the nuclear program, and we hope progress can be made, because that's the president's preference, to make progress on the diplomatic front. But it's also important to remember that Iran refuses to talk about ballistic missiles, to us or to anyone, and that's a big problem.
Rubio was careful to frame them as one conversation in a series, not a resolution. If progress on the nuclear file proved impossible, progress on missiles would be harder still. But that didn't mean Washington is not wary of the Iranian threat.
So I want everybody to understand that beyond just the nuclear program, they possess these conventional weapons that are solely designed to attack America and attack Americans if they so choose.
The next round of negotiations are set to take place in Geneva, and it would be interesting to see whether the talks bear any results. If they don't, the Middle East can be in for a quagmire. 2 aircraft carriers, warships massing, a president issuing warnings from Capitol Hill. Iran's response, calling Washington the new Goebbels. Nuclear accusations, missile threats, 32,000 protesters allegedly dead. Negotiations are open, but so is the possibility of war. Washington and Tehran are talking and arming at the same time. Iran's foreign ministry has sharply rebuked US President Donald Trump following his latest warning to Tehran during the State of the Union address, with a senior spokesman comparing the US administration's rhetoric to Nazi propaganda. Speaking after Trump told Congress that Iran was pursuing advanced missiles and potentially reviving nuclear weapons ambitions, Foreign Ministry spokesman Esmail Baqai accused Washington of spreading disinformation.
Professional liars are good at creating the illusion of truth. Repeat a lie often enough and it becomes the truth is a law of propaganda coined by Nazi Joseph Goebbels.
In his post on X, Baqai said the principle was now being systematically used by the US administration and the war profiteers encircling it. particularly the genocidal Israeli regime, accusing Washington of waging a coordinated misinformation campaign against Iran. The remarks came after Trump used his address to a joint session of Congress to warn that Tehran was developing missiles capable of threatening Europe, US bases overseas, and eventually the American mainland.
They've already developed missiles that can threaten Europe and our bases overseas, and they're working to build missiles that will soon reach the United States of America. After Midnight Hammer, they were warned to make no future attempts to rebuild their weapons program, and in particular, nuclear weapons. Yet they continue. They're starting it all over. We wiped it out, and they want to start all over again, and are at this moment again pursuing their sinister ambitions. We are in negotiations with them. They want to make a deal, but we haven't heard those secret words. We will never have a nuclear weapon.
The American president also claimed Iran had been warned against rebuilding its weapons program, particularly nuclear weapons, but alleged it was once again pursuing those ambitions. Tehran denies seeking to build a nuclear bomb and insists its program is for civilian energy and research purposes. However, it has accumulated stockpiles of uranium enriched beyond levels typically required for power generation, raising concern in Washington and among European allies. In his address, Trump also accused the Iranian regime of violently suppressing domestic protests, claiming that at least 32,000 demonstrators had been killed in recent unrest. He further referenced the 2020 US killing of Iranian commander Qasem Soleimani during his first term, describing the strike as having a major strategic impact.
And just over the last couple of months with the protests, they've killed at least, it looks like, 32,000 protests. 32,000 protesters in their own country. They shot them and hung them. We stopped them from hanging a lot of them with the threat of serious violence. But this is some terrible people.
The speech coincides with a significant US military buildup in the region, including 2 aircraft carriers and multiple warships deployed near Iran. Analysts say the scale of the deployment mirrors preparations seen ahead of previous major US operations. With negotiations looming and military assets in place, tensions between Washington and Tehran remain high, even as both sides publicly leave the door open to a potential deal.